Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Well, hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders, the Authority Positioning Coach, and today we have with us RJ Jackson, who is the Courage Giver. Welcome to the program, RJ.
It's my pleasure, and thank you so much for having me so I can impart confidence into your listening audience. Thanks, Mike.
Hey, you're welcome. And so I love when you hear names of businesses or titles of books or something where you know that someone created it for a reason. And, it's always neat to see the word give, because you want to be feeling like you are giving to people, and then we're giving what? We're giving courage. And that's unique. You don't hear that much. You might hear, the leadership giver. Well, 10 trillion people are out there doing leadership stuff, but tell me a little bit about your background and how you were led to then start this movement on the Courage Giver.
Oh, that's a great question. And I love that word give, because really we don't live unless we give. And I like the way Zig Ziglar said, life is not measured by what you have. Life is measured by what you give. And so that's me, the Courage Giver. And I love getting up every day on purpose to remind people there's greatness inside of them. And all they have to do is find the courage to dig deep inside to get it. Now, believe it or not, Mike, that journey started for me when I was about 16 years old. Because it was then when I said, here's what I'm going to do with life. And one of those things was to become a professional speaker. Amazing. I never saw anybody
16.
do anything like that. It wasn't even in my community. What was a professional speaker? I had no clue, but it was something I knew I was going to do.
So did you have at that point the idea, you can be a professional speaker talking about a variety of topics. Did you have an idea of what you wanted to focus on, or did you want just like the idea of speaking in front of people?
I just love the fact of encouraging people, even if that meant speaking in front of people. And I had a love for speaking because I participated in speech and debate. I was president of a couple of clubs on campus in high school, and so it didn't bother me. Now, most people, their number one fear is speaking in front of people. Yep. They would rather die. They would rather die, but I wasn't one of those people.
So at what point, when you started thinking about, at age 16, 17, 18, public speaking and professional speaker, at what point did, your kind of clarity and purpose kind of come into view? Because you could have easily said, I'm going to go speak on many, many topics. So this courage and encouragement, how did that come into view for you? Okay,
so I started off speaking to parents. And I saw that sharing the information with them when I was about 20, sharing the information with them was very powerful. It resonated with them, and it encouraged them. But fast forward, when I was about 30, I realized that people were afraid.
Yeah. And
pretty much afraid of nothing. And that they had so much inside of them to give if they could just get past the fact of being afraid. I just said, what is it that I could do to help them? And then second of all, I had to say, Lord, what do you want me to use? How do you want me to use this gift of encouragement? And he said, encourage my people. That's what I told you to do. Be the Barnabas of the day and go out and encourage people. So it was around that time when the Courage Giver came to me. It was just something God just laid on my heart. And I said, let's go for it.
Yeah. Well, that's the best thing to do is don't be like Jonah and jump out, jump on the first ship out away from where you're supposed to go, because we know what happens there.
Absolutely.
So at that point now, do you go into training to be a professional speaker? Do you go to college, or how did you then get, because as you know, you can hear a speaker that knows a little bit about a subject, and then you can hear a speaker that just envelops the subject. And, to be that vibrant speaker, you've got to have some good training, good foundation, but also some life experience. So where did you go that direction to get both the training for good speaking, but also, to realize that, the more life experience you have and maybe struggles and trials, that's going to be able to help really deepen what you're able to do to encourage people?
Those direction questions are always powerful, because if we don't know where we're going, we never know that we've arrived. And the direction I took was the fact that God had gifted me, number one, to be a speaker. And number two, I had a confidence like no other person that I knew. And I didn't make it up. I didn't buy it from Neiman Marcus. It wasn't on sale anywhere. It was just something that was innate. It was inside of me that I was able to share with other people. And as a result, my life experience, my confidence, and my calling became my GPS. And that's the direction in which I took. And I'm still taking this day.
Yep. Yeah. Well, we never arrive. And if you think you have arrived, then that's when you better start looking out, because now you start getting complacent.
Yep. And you're in trouble.
Well, exactly. Hey, let's talk about courage and confidence. Do you feel that they're related? Do you think there's a little bit of difference? How do you intertwine those two concepts?
They work hand in hand. And so when it comes to courage and confidence, courage is like the number one characteristic of life that you can have. You can't do anything without courage. You're like the scarecrow of life, right? Like, no, I can't. I'm scared.
Yep.
And without confidence, it simply means you don't know who you are. And when you don't know who you are, then you don't find the courage you need in order to succeed. And you just push back in life. So we have to have confidence, because confidence tells us who we are. And when we know who we are, then life has meaning. It has purpose. And so we know how to make decisions and choices and pick activities out of purpose, not by accident. So yes, they do work hand in hand, and we can't do anything without them.
And it kind of, as you were describing that, it made me remember the old saying I'm sure you're familiar with, knowledge is power, which people smile and nod, and you're going, yeah, that's false, because knowledge is not power. The implementation of that knowledge is the power. Having something that you can do for the world, or cure for cancer or something, that's not going to do anybody any good until you put it out there. So I think that's another angle of how courage and confidence can work together is just knowing that you can do something, or feeling you're called or your purpose is fill in the blank, but then that courage to do it. That's stepping out and knowing that you're going to stumble, but move forward.
Absolutely. And as the saying says, courage is not being afraid. It's being afraid and having the confidence to do it anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Hey, so when you start talking to people or working with them, or you get questions from your, maybe your audiences, what are some of the big concerns that they tend to have and ask you questions about? And then what would you say the next step is for them to move forward? Because it's not a quick fix. It's not overnight. People didn't arrive at the state they're in 2 seconds, so they're not going to get out of it in 2 seconds either.
And that's a message in itself.
Yeah.
And it's one that we have to constantly convey to people. Like, you didn't get here overnight. You're not going to change overnight. I know there are people who say 1 minute success. Yeah, I like the way Mr. Hilton said it. My 1 minute took so many years, right?
Yep. Took 30 years to be an overnight success.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So the question I get most from women, which are the people that make my heart beat, even though I love men, I'm not gifted in that area, with the exception of helping men understand the Father's love based on my experience with my dad. The question I get most from women is, can I do it?
Yeah.
Believe it or not, they don't believe they can do what they feel or they desire to do. And so they ask me, based on the confidence they see in myself, do you think I can do it?
And sometimes just that external person, your third-party perspective, saying, yes, you can, sometimes that's all they need, right? Is that what you see as well?
I think they need more than someone to say, yes, I can, because if you continue to do what you've always done, as they say, you will get the same result. So now they need to make a shift. They need to have the confidence themselves, because it doesn't matter really what other people say to you. It matters what you say to yourself most. So they need to have their language changed. They need to have the confidence to take one step and then another. And then they need to have the information that's going to cause transformation in their situation. And that's where I come in, helping you with all three of those things. And at the same time, being a reflection of what it looks like. So you can use me. If you're a woman struggling, they get to use me as their mirror and go, oh, well, look at RJ. Not to say if RJ did it, I could do it, but to say, I see that she did it.
Yeah,
I can do it too. Mm-hmm.
Well, and I think that sounds kind of like people would hear that and go, oh, of course. But it's almost like you go into the gym and you want to bulk up and be a power lifter, and the trainer they assign you with is 98 pounds and can't barely pick up the trash can. So that would make no sense. So you would never follow that person. You would never respect what they have to say, because they're not reflecting what they're trying to teach you. So when you can be that confident person, or that, confident speaker, now they might not even consciously say, RJ is great, I will follow what she says, but it just kind of is that vibe that comes off. So I think that's a big, big piece. You've got to walk your talk.
Absolutely. I love that example you just used, Mike, and it reminds me of actually my trainer in the gym. And he is built. He's pretty bulked up. He's a competitor, so he competes. Mm-hmm. And so here's what happens when we work out together. He doesn't sit back and tell me what to do. He does it with me. Yeah. And that even builds my confidence up even more. And that's the person I am with the people that I work with. I'm going to do it with you. Let's walk this journey out together.
I don't know what the principle would be, but when you mentioned that, it made me think of something else. So many times I've got a 14-year-old son and 3 daughters, but if you tell them, hey, go clean out the garage. Well, now maybe that's, not really fun to think about. But if I go, hey, let's head out for 20, 30 minutes and work on the garage together, now it's a whole different mindset. So you're not just barking orders, you're going, let's do it together. And I think that we can make a lot of applications like you just said. So whether you say to someone, well, what I want you to do is every morning get up and follow this brief morning routine to set your mind in the right direction. And if they go, well, hey, tell me about yours. And you're like, I don't really do it, but it makes sense. Well, you're not walking your talk. I think that's a big, big piece that people miss.
Being authentic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Being the example and being authentic. It's important.
Well, let's wrap up with give us some words of encouragement that you would like to leave. What's the thought of the day, word of the day, and what can we use moving forward after hearing this talk that we've had, which I really have enjoyed.
And so have I, and I really appreciate it, and I thank you for the time you've taken to allow me to remind women, and here's my word of encouragement, that you don't have to live where you're dying, and you certainly don't have to die where you're living. Okay. It simply takes being courageous enough to take a risk with confidence. And so I want to encourage you, if you're under the sound of my voice right now, man, woman, boy, or girl, it doesn't matter. The world awaits your greatness. And all you have to be willing to do to get started is take a risk with confidence. And know this, you are not alone. The courage giver will walk alongside of you.
Well, RJ, thank you so much for your time. What's the best way people can reach out and connect with you, learn more about you, listen to your podcast, read your books? What's the best resource for them?
And I would love to connect with anyone who's listening, most of all so I can get to know you. And you can connect with me anywhere online at The Courage Giver. On my website, thecouragegiver.com, any social media platform, The Courage Giver. That's The Courage Giver at thecouragegiver.com.
RJ, thank you so much. Have a great day.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneursradio.com.